Witch Hat Atelier fans, this is Chris Boats, and I'm coming in with an episode review of this week's episode 5, The Dragon's Labyrinth. Now, before I do get into the content, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. Now, this was a really good episode, and I think it gives us a glimpse as to how action and attention is going to be handled within the world of Witch Hat Atelier. We start off with the girls. They're all just running around trying to escape this dragon, and there's a really good bonding experience right here in the beginning where we see Atelier is looking at Coco and basically giving her that accusatory look of blaming Coco for what's going on here, that they all got trapped in this particular little realm, which it is Coco's fault, but Atelier didn't want to just come out and just say it outright or anything. It's a little good bonding session here. There was Coco decides to go ahead and break out and give her cloak to Atelier to try to keep her warm, but Atelier doesn't necessarily refuse, but what she does is she gives it back to Coco and tells her that instead of that, I'd rather dream of being inside of a very nice cloud. Basically keep herself warm. She's always dreamed of wanting to sleep in the clouds, and she came up with this own personal spell of hers. This is going to actually turn out to be a very important part of how they're going to get out of the Dragon's Labyrinth. It all is going to start coming together here where all four girls rather are going to start looking at different types of ideas on how to get out of the Dragon's Labyrinth, as we see all the girls coming in there doing little girly things, trying to get into this nice cloud, because hey, who doesn't like a nice cloud to lay on? We have Agathe, who's always a practical person, talking about reality, how they're going to get out of there. And so they start brainstorming all kinds of good ideas to come out. And the only idea that Agathe really comes up with is that she wants to use some type of battle spell to get out of the labyrinth, but Coco shoots that down and says, no, I don't think your spell has a way of beating it. It was impervious to the fire spell you had cast, what we had saw in the last episode when Agathe used that fire spell to try to help them escape the dragon. The dragon just ran right through it. Agathe comes back and says, well, what kind of ideas do you have? And she goes, and Coco comes back and says, I have this idea about why don't we just try to make a spell that will actually help the dragon and not hurt it. And that's where they come up with the cloud spell. Let's go ahead and just make one big giant cloud that the dragon can go ahead and sleep on. And so it's such a wild idea that all three girls buy into it immediately and say, yes, that does sound like something that we can actually be done. So this is kind of a different kind of way to go about looking at how to solve a problem without using violence. There's a lot of games out there where they give players the options to approach a problem without necessarily resorting to violence, and this is Coco's way of fighting. She says, I want to try to use magic to help people and to bring happiness, not always to bring any type of hurt, even if it does involve that dragon. And so all the girls buy into it, and they're coming up with the idea, and that's where Agathe here comes up with her own idea as to how they can go ahead and make this work, and that's to come up with a repetition spell. And I really like how all these girls all start coming together and working as a team. We have Coco, who has really ingenious ideas. Agathe, who is a really good thinker, really good spell caster. She knows how to draw those seals really well. The original idea of Atelier, who came up with the cloud spell. And then even Richie over here, Richie, who has boundless optimism and is able to actually create those spells, those seals very quickly, draw them in near perfect form without having any type of break or anything. So they all have to work together, and they come up with the really sound plan to go ahead and make this work. And we're just gonna go ahead and fast forward. It eventually comes together. They start going out, they start executing the plan, putting it out in place, running around this entire labyrinth to draw these spells. And what Agathe had come up with is she had come up with an idea that what they can do is do what's called a repeating binder spell, where they're going to take the cloud spell and then they're going to put a whole bunch of repeating types of sandblast type spells, because that's how they're going to make the cloud. They're going to make it out of sand, the blasted sand from the walls that they've been blasted. So they're going to keep on putting this these repeating binder spells around the cloud spell. The repeating binder spells are going to keep generating the sand to give the form to the clouds, and it's just going to keep doing that, so that when this dragon lays on top of the cloud, it just won't immediately dissipate. And so that's how the entire plan comes to fruition. They're running about, they're activating all the spells, keeping an eye on that dragon, and we see the result back there. There's the cloud that's forming in the background as we see Atelier completing those circles. And when this dragon sees the cloud, just like any animal, they just say, oh, this looks nice and comfy. And we see our cats and our dogs, when they find a nice, comfortable, soft pillow or something to lay on, that's the dragon. They call it these three girls call it the dragon disabler cushion, and Agat's laying like that, like, dude, that's such a suck ass name. No, we're gonna go ahead and call it the serpent's bed of sand. There you go. See, that's a better name, isn't it? The serpent's bed of sand. And it was all to basically come over here and find this casting seal, which is the casting seal that transported them to this area here. And in the last episode, Coco had noticed this casting seal but didn't get a chance to communicate that because of all the tension that was in that particular episode. But she was able to finally tell them that this is where it was at. They're gonna come up here, they're gonna find that, and this is just gonna set up a whole chain of events, because the way they had just erased it, and once they erased it, it opened up this pocket hole right here that Keyfree was able to finally jump in there and come to the girls' rescue. And this just sets up a really cool scene where we get to see a display of Keyfree's abilities. This guy is OP, at least in the world of Witch Hat Atelier, but I always love it when you see the master, the teacher, being able to display their skills. You know, when we seen Kakashi display his skills for the first time, or when we saw Goto from Jujutsu Kaisen, any of those characters that are able to go in there and just display their skills. You see his skills right here. He just wiped everything out of the way, and he's getting ready to cast this big giant dragon type water spell that's just going to encapsulate and engulf this dragon. Just look at that right there. This guy just comes in and says, you're not going to mess with any of my students, and he's able to come in there and save the day. Well, actually, he was just there in the nick of time to prevent anything worse from happening. But if we go forward to the end here, towards the end, Coco is really taking it really hard about what happened. Keyfree comes to her and says, you know, you actually were the one that saved everyone. It wasn't me that saved everyone, it was you. And the reason why you saved everyone is because you displayed a sense of ideas. She came up with really good ideas, and he tells her that ideas are just as important as having penmanship. And that's a really good lesson for a master, for a teacher to go in there and bestow upon his students, basically letting them know that simply because you got in this situation, you still worked really hard to get your teammates out of the situation they were in. So he's a really good teacher, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this relationship build between master and student. But this episode ends off with Keyfree asking Nonoa, having him go in there and investigate this ink that created that casting seal. And see Nonoa, he pushes back that forbidden magic must be reported to what's called the Knights Moralis. But you see the look on Keyfree's face right there. He's like, dude, I ain't having it. These people came after my students, and I'm going to deal with this my way. So I do not want you telling this to anyone. And that's how this episode ends. So this is a really jam-packed episode. Had everything going for it. Really good artwork, really good pacing, really good music. Really love the bonding between the girls. Keyfree coming to the rescue for his students. And then just ending off on this cliffhanger, which, by the way, this entire thing was meant for the brimmed hat to get at Coco. And I'm just wondering, what is so important about Coco that the brimmed caps are so interested in wanting to gain access to Coco? And you see, picks her up and says, I'll teach you things that Keyfree can't. Well, what things does this brimmed cap, this faceless mask, what does he want to teach Coco that Keyfree can't teach her? we got this nice little plot that's being developed here, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm gonna give this episode a 9 out of 10. I really loved it. I really enjoyed every minute of it, and I can't wait to see more of it. What did you guys think of this episode? Whatever you thought, jump down in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Bolts signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.